Alright, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and today I'm literally halfway around the world. I'm here in New Zealand. Amazing. I don't know, about like an hour or two outside Auckland. It's been an amazing trip so far, and along my journeys, whenever I travel, I always try to visit health food stores because, after all, I have to eat too, and I want to get the best organic produce. I mean, of course, yesterday I went to like Growers Market, which is like a farmer's market here, but I've been to a handful of health food stores on this trip specifically, and so far, this is my favorite one, the Hungry Elephant. They're a real food cafe and health food store, basically. And I want to bring this to you guys because not only are they my favorite health food store, to show them off and to let you guys know if you guys are here in New Zealand to check them out. Definitely really cool. I'm just amazed at all the different products, and not even just the different products, but like the depth of products and the unique products that they have that I actually haven't even found inside the United States. And I go to all the different health food trade shows, and I've been to some of the best health food stores in the US, which I would consider something like Rainbow General in San Francisco, or Mana Market in Paia Town on Maui. Those are some of my favorite ones so far, but this one's right up there with some of them. One of the reasons why is because outside they have fruit trees. So unfortunately it's not quite persimmon season yet, but during the season, just a few months away, they're gonna have lots of persimmons outside, and hopefully they'll be selling them in the market. Anyways, what I wanted to do in this episode, actually, we're gonna take you guys inside the market, and I'm always here to encourage you guys to eat healthier, right? And we are all on different parts of our journey on eating healthier, right? They have a real foods cafe inside there, and actually, I've eaten here 2 days in a row. I had nice big giant salads. And actually, the reason why this whole cafe and market started was because actually the owner that opened this up was actually had a life transformation. She was sick, she had a lot of illnesses, and because of changing her diet, getting into health foods, organic foods, natural foods, you know, she's turned her health around, and she now wants to spread this message with others. As many of you guys may have turned your health around by basically eating healthier, eating more fresh fruits and vegetables and the like, and want to help others. Well, this is her way to do it, is to open a cafe so that people in the area could come eat healthy food and also purchase healthy food here, because in this area there are actually not a whole lot of health food stores, because it's kind of like really, you know, out in the country in my opinion, and you know, I don't even know if there's enough people in this area to sustain this amazing business. Anyways, I want to show you guys around real quick, but then I want to get into ways you guys can eat healthier, even if you guys don't live here, by doing what I call good, better, best. And it's actually just I call it my health food continuum. And I do have a longer video on this, what I'll post down below, a link to that. But in this video, we're going to give you actually practical tips coming at you from a health food store to show you guys the different options that you guys could make every time you go shopping, and how to eat healthier stuff instead of junkier stuff. So let's come inside and show you guys around. So inside the Hungry Elephant, the first thing you're going to notice when you walk in is basically it's the cafe is up front and center, and they have basically plant-based foods, vegan foods, vegetarian food, pizzas, nachos, all the foods you would ever want, smoothies, fresh juices, hot drinks, also salads. That's what I would encourage you guys to get. They have some good, amazing salads. And here's just some of the different deli items they have. They have you know, vegan falafels, and both vegan desserts and actually raw vegan desserts also, which actually we had a tuxedo cheesecake brownie, which is pretty good, and then also a peanut bar. That one was just I think vegan, had some roasted peanuts in there, orange cheesecake, all kinds of delicious stuff. And here's the cool thing, man, this place is pretty progressive. I mean, for being anywhere, and this is cool. It says dear customer, our aim is to provide you with the most valued customer with the highest quality and healthiest food. Therefore, as microwave heating is not used on our eco-friendly premises, we do require a bit more time for preparation, especially when it comes to heating your delicious meal. And so I guess people really get impatient sometimes because everybody always expects their food fast. And what we really need to do is we need to slow down in this day and age. We wanted our food yesterday. We wanted our food to come out in 5 minutes. And sometimes you gotta wait for good things, especially, you know, handmade food made by the chef's loving hands. You know, and these things are not microwaved here. Microwave, in my opinion, and also things like frying are some of the worst ways to prepare your food. And actually the falafels here are actually baked, not fried, so that's quite impressive. Anyways, another thing that really impressed me about this space is just it's just really designed well. It's just like really eco-friendly, cool. But I want to take you guys out to the back and show you guys actually what the scenery you'll get when you're eating your healthy meal. So now we're headed out of the back of the cafe. There's indoor seating as well as this outdoor seating that they could enclose during the winter months when it's maybe not so nice. But check this out. If we walk right out the back, and you guys can look in the background. Look at that, man. There's like a little nice waterfall. This is just like the forest. Literally, you're just sitting like out in nature. I mean, what if every health food store in America were like this? I mean, do you think people would be like a little more calm and relaxed and serene? Man, what an amazing setting. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the health food store and show you guys how you guys could turn your health and diet around by making different choices in any health food store, whether that's here in New Zealand at the Hungry Elephant or wherever you live. So now we're gonna walk into the health food store part of the building, and in this area they have all the different like eco-friendly products for your home, whether that's, you know, things for dog and puppy shampoo, natural pest control, even organic fertilizers and kelp, and they even got like a indoor composting bokashi bucket. And this one's really interesting, man. I've never seen a health food store in the US carry even anything like this. This kind of goes to show you guys actually the depth of product that they have here. This is called the Ensco Pet, and what this is, this allows you to compost your dog poo in your backyard instead of sending it to the landfill, right? Even better than putting in basically a non-plastic poop bag, which actually they also sell here. Compost it yourself and don't even have to use a non-plastic or even plastic bag in the first place. Yeah. They have lots of different other, you know, eco-friendly products and cleaners and detergents, which I would encourage you guys to use, because once again, I like to teach good, better, best. And if you guys are currently using Tide or Lysol, you know, please know that there are healthier alternatives. You know, I use natural Ecos laundry detergent. Actually, do they have that here? Yep, no, that's Ecover. But I use Ecos laundry detergent, and you know, they're selling Ecos now at Costco in the States and Sam's Club. You know, I use 7th generation cleaning products that kill 99.99% of the bacteria in my bathroom. You know, I mix up sometimes like TKO, which is basically a orange oil mixed in with water and some essential oils to like use it as a cleaner. You would use lemon and vinegar as a cleaner and save yourself the money from buying Fantastic or Windex and all these other more toxic ingredients. I mean, I could talk about beauty care and toothpaste and different makeup, and they have actually quite a selection of like natural perfumes, which are actually, we don't actually get in the States, some of them. But I want to actually get into the food because that's kind of like the area of my specialty. But before I do, I want to show you guys actually just some of the different superfoods that they have in here. Now, I always encourage you guys, one of the best things you guys could do is actually grow a garden. You know, growing a garden, growing your own food, growing your own berries, herbs, leafy greens, and fruits. One of the best things, because now you know what went into the food you're growing. You know what was sprayed on it. You know what was not sprayed on it. You know what additives, what fertilizers were being used. If there's synthetic fertilizers that may imbalance the food, or if you're using things like rock dust and trace minerals and seaweeds and compost teas and worm castings that are going to increase the growth and increase the quality of the food you're growing. Whenever you buy any kind of packaged products, even some of the ones that I'm going to be showing you guys today, as good as they are, right, you don't know how that food was exactly raised. If it has an organic label on it, hopefully it was raised organically. But here's the thing, in organic gardening or organic farming, for example, you know, organic farming, if it has that certified label, it tells what they are not doing, you know. And it's like if you're a vegan tells a person or tells the world what you're not eating. If you're vegan, you're not eating any animal products. You're not eating things that are derived from animals. You know, no honey, that's out, man. You know, and if it has an organic label, it says we are not spraying these, you know, not disallowed pesticides that are made from chemicals. We are not using chemical fertilizers. But it doesn't say what they are or should be adding, in my opinion. So I want you guys, once again, good, better, best, grow your own, number one thing. And if you live in an apartment in New York City, grow sprouts and microgreens, because you guys can grow those inside. Anyways, for the rest of us, there's always packaged food products, and they have actually quite a selection I mean, especially for being here in New Zealand, of different packaged products. I mean, some of these things you don't even see in the United States, so I'm quite impressed they even have it here. Like yacon root powder is something you don't often see in the United States that you can purchase. I'm sure you could find it online somewhere, but people don't understand that yacon root powder. I grow yacon, so I mean, better than me buying the yacon root powder is grow your own yacon. And if you live in certain climates where it's not a super, where you have a nice longer season, you guys can grow it. But the yacon is actually rich in prebiotic material, right? These are very important for the beneficial flora in your intestines to keep them happy, and especially if you had a run of antibiotics, you guys need to have some of this yacon root powder or other inulin powder. I mean, you could get extracted inulin powder, which is straight inulin, but yacon root is more of a whole food. So I always want you guys to move towards whole, real foods whenever you guys can, whether it's yacon powder or even something like Jerusalem artichoke powder to help feed your probiotics, or just eat the yacon root or the sunchoke root, very high in the prebiotic powders. I mean, you also have like organic banana powder, which is now like a gluten-free baking substitute, and green banana flour. You could use that for baking, whether you want to call it paleo or whatever, but that's like basically the green banana flour is like unripe, so it's a starchy banana powder. I mean, of course, lucuma powder, mesquite powder, that can be quite hard to find in the US. And my favorite powders actually are the fruit powders, right? And fresh fruits are the best, I will say that right then and there. But sometimes when I travel, like when I traveled this trip, actually I brought goji berry powder with me on the plane. So on the plane, instead of just drinking the water, which I hate drinking straight water, I would rather drink coconut water or something, I put the goji berry powder in the water on the plane, so now I have like antioxidants going in with my water, plus it tastes a whole heck of a lot better than drinking plain water. But I mean, literally people don't understand that when you get a pomegranate powder, it's like, this bag probably has like, I don't know, at least 20 or 30 different pomegranates that have been basically dried and powderized for you guys, so it's quite concentrated, so you're really gonna up the phytonutrients that you're getting. And I mean, red raspberry powder, blueberry powder, beetroot powder, all different kinds, New Zealand black currant, freeze-dried, carob powder, that's another one I'll stop at here real quick. The carob powder, is one of the health, if you're addicted to chocolate, you want to get on this carob stuff. Carob is, at least in my estimation, 10 times healthier than the cacao. This stuff is actually rich in fiber, much more than cacao powder, which is actually just a bean or a fat, much lower fat also, and a lot better for us, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm amazed they have this raw organic carob powder from Spain. It's pretty good stuff. And that could even be hard to find in the US. I mean, if you go to any Whole Foods, they'll have carob powder, but it's roasted carob powder, which, hey, it's still better than eating cacao, in my opinion, raw cacao, but, try to get a raw product, or just try to get raw carob pods. Actually, if I remember, I'll put a link down below to a video I made in Ojai, California, where they'll ship you some raw carob pods right off their farm. Anyways, let's get into the meat, so-called, of this episode, where I'm going to share with you guys actually alternatives to buying things like white sugar and salt, actually some of the different vitamin supplements, things like spaghetti, and just some of the healthier alternatives, because I want to hopefully meet you guys where you're at. Not everybody's going to be a raw foodist tomorrow or eat a plant-based diet tomorrow, but you guys can make small and incremental changes over time to better what you're doing, better your life, and you'll have a better health outcome in the end. Of course, the goal for everybody should just be to grow their own garden, eat most of the fruits and vegetables out of their garden, and of course, if you're not growing it, buy the best organic, high-quality fruits and vegetables you can, and eat the most of them first. So the first thing I want to teach you guys about, and this is based on what I've learned over the 23 years now that I've been to a plant-based, raw food, fruit and vegetable dominated diet, is you want to do the best you can. Now, there are certain nutrients that we do need to get from the foods we eat. Unfortunately, many people may not be getting them from the foods they eat. And in my opinion, that's why there are supplements, right? Supplements are here to supplement your diet. And if your diet is deficient because you're eating the standard American diet or processed food junk diet, then you may need more supplements than not. That being said, in my opinion, in this day and age, even if you're eating the best organic diet, there are some certain supplements that you may want to still get. The first one is actually not one of them, because you should be getting these from your food. Something like the vitamin C, right? So here's a supplement, vitamin C, and if you need vitamin C, it's probably good to take it in a supplement form. But in my opinion, it's even better to get it from your food. But if you are going to get a supplement, you know, there are good, better, best supplements, right? The ester C is probably one of the better supplements because, you know, they have studies where it shows it stays in your bloodstream longer for a longer period of time, is more time released than some other ones that you might eat, and then they'll be in your bloodstream and then they'll leave you, right? But my thing is, like, if we want vitamin C, we need to eat vitamin C based foods, you know, all the time or all day, right? I mean, I'll eat oranges for breakfast, I'll eat, you know, bell peppers at night for dinner, and I'll have like leafy greens in the middle of the day in my juice, and I'm getting vitamin C constantly, so it never runs out in my bloodstream. But that being said, instead of just, if you're gonna buy a vitamin C, don't get a vitamin C, you know, that's man-made like this. You know, it may not affect us the same way in our bodies, and actually in some cases, man-made supplements may cause some harm. A better alternative, in my opinion, would be something like this. This is basically the Healthiest Superfoods Truly Natural Vitamin C. And although, John, that's a vitamin C, the other one's a vitamin C, what's the difference? Well, the thing people don't understand is that this is actually from a whole food base. And so if you look on the ingredients, it says ingredients, acerola cherry extract powder. And so this is basically just powdered acerola berries in a bottle that's been concentrated. So of course, you could grow your own acerola berry tree and eat your own acerola berries, but better than that, you know, if you're not going to do that, hey, and you want a vitamin C supplement, but you should get it from your food, and you can, you know, buy a whole food based powdered supplement. So next nutrient I want to talk about, actually, that is actually much more important to potentially supplement than the vitamin C, is the vitamin D, and this is actually the vitamin D3, you know, this is actually a non-vegan version. And I know for some people it's important to get a vegan version of vitamin D, and I do want to say that I believe we need to have a proper amount of vitamin D, and it's very important however you get it, whether that is from a supplement or, in my opinion, a better way than taking a supplement is just basically exposing your body to the sun. And depending on where you live and depending on the time of year you are at, you may or may not be able to get enough vitamin D from the sun. But that should be the number one primary way you would get your vitamin D, in my opinion. You know, I like to get out and travel to where the sun is. So if it's winter time and I can't get enough sun from where I live, I'll come to somewhere where it's summertime and get enough sun, like I'm here in New Zealand in the summertime for them, or winter time on the other side of the world, so I could get some sun and make my own vitamin D. Aside from that, you might want to get something like a special lighting that will basically put the special UV light on you so that your body can make the vitamin D. So that's like a light box, special light boxes will do that. Or I have friends that actually go into special kind of tanning beds that will actually also make vitamin D. Now be careful with the tanning beds, because not all tanning beds will allow you to make the vitamin D, so make sure that you're going into one that you can do that. Then after that, you might want to get some kind of supplement. So instead of just buying a standard supplement like this, I might get one that they have over here. So for a vitamin D supplement, a better one than just the standard D3 that you had, I like to actually get the kind by the Garden of Life. Actually, it's one of the better ones, although there are others, but they're actually out of stock here, is the vitamin D from the Garden of Life. It's a spray, so I like that, and it is from a plant-based source. So that's even a better option than the supplement. But next I want to get into even a better food option of vitamin D if they have that available near you. So in my opinion, a better way to get vitamin D instead of a supplement is to actually eat it in a food source. So something like some mushrooms, and certain mushrooms will have high levels of vitamin D. In the United States anyways, they will have packaging that says high in vitamin D. So make sure it says it on the packaging. Just because it's a mushroom doesn't mean it's going to automatically be high in vitamin D. It's only if they're exposed to the UV light that they require, they will produce the vitamin D like we make it with our skin. So will the mushrooms, and we could eat the mushrooms to get the vitamin D. So make sure it says it on the packaging if that's something you're looking for. That being said, the other thing I like to do is actually just buy a mushroom powder, a high vitamin D mushroom powder that you can just buy as a supplement, and actually I just mix that in when I make my evening soup or salad dressing. I just put some of that in there so I know that I'm always getting some small amounts of vitamin D in some of the food I eat. That being said, the best way, of course, is just go out and get some sun. I think people in this day and age are too scared of the sun, and we should be cautious of the sun, but we shouldn't be scared of it. And know this, when you're eating a diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables, high in different pigments, anthocyanin pigments, lycopene pigments, beta-carotene pigments, these pigments get actually underneath our skin to protect us from the sun. So the sun is a double-edged sword, much like many nutrients in our diets. We want to get just enough, not too much and not too little. So next, let's talk about B12. Good, better, best B12. What does that mean? All right, so does it mean like, oh, John, I could get B12 from meat. I'm gonna eat meat because that's a whole food product instead of taking a supplement. Well, here's the thing, even if you eat meat, you're not guaranteed to get B12 because B12, deficiency is not a problem between vegans, vegetarians, and meat eaters. It's a problem with just living in today's world because of the mass sterilization of the foods that we're eating, whether that's because the cows are eating, grains that they're not designed to eat and they're no longer out in the field eating grass with the roots and the bacteria on them. And that's the reason why the animals' meats have the B12 is because it's the bacteria they eat and the bacteria make the B12 that then accumulate into the animals. And in some cases, unfortunately, animals are being injected with a B12 supplement so that they'll have the B12 in them. So then when you eat them, you're just getting a supplement secondhand, right? So in that case, what you guys should do instead is just get a good quality B12 supplement. There's a lot out there. I mean, here's the one by Garden of Life. This is not my favorite one. This one actually just has the methylcobalamin form of B12. I don't necessarily recommend only one form of B12. If you guys take a B12 supplement, which I do encourage everybody, no matter your diet, to do, is to get one with multiple forms of B12. There are some genetic, basically, dispositions that some people have, and they don't have the right genes to convert certain kinds of B12 into the active kind in their bodies. And so I would hate for somebody to take the wrong kind of B12, not do the expensive genetic testing, or it's a couple $100 to know that you're not converting to eat the right kind. But so just take the right kind. So like, for example, this one, the vegan safe B12, actually has the methylcobalamin and adenzocobalamin. And in addition, there's also a cyanocobalamin. So I always try to switch up my B12, having both these types as well as a cyanocobalamin, sometimes, so I'm getting all the forms, so hopefully my body will be converting one of those into the B12 I need. And if you want to try to get your B12 from nature, I would not stake my life on that at that point, although sometimes I eat dirty vegetables out of my garden. It's the bacteria that make the B12. You got to make sure you have the right kind of bacteria, and actually you don't have the harmful bacteria on your food. I mean, in nature, thousands of years ago, we'd be drinking out of streams that were maybe had some bacteria contamination in there, and we would get our B12. But in this day and age, I do not recommend drinking out of any stream to take your B12. It's at this point, it's much easier for everybody to take a supplement. So the next item I want to share with you guys actually today at the health food store is something that many of you guys may still be using, and I do have a video on this topic specifically. I'll post a link down below to my video on salt. So of course, iodized salt may be good, may be bad, because actually the only good thing in there, in my opinion, is the iodine that your diet may be deficient in. But otherwise, that's a highly refined, highly processed product that actually I do not recommend. But even things like the sea salt. I mean, this is some Himalayan salt down here. Here's some sea salt that's coarse, actually even a product of Australia, local salt even. I mean, let's face it, like some people say salt is a health food because it has all these trace minerals in there. In my opinion, that's hogwash. And people need to get over it. And I know people are going to thumbs down this video because they like their Himalayan salt and they want to feel that it is a health food. And here's the thing, we need a proper amounts of sodium in our diets. That's totally true, right? I will not debate that. The problem is most people, in my opinion, get far too much sodium in their diets and are eating way too much salt. And furthermore, the salt is not a good source of other trace minerals, right? It's mostly sodium with small amounts of other mineral contamination there. So if you want to get trace minerals, I'll show you what you guys should be eating in a second. But just know that if you are eating any kind of extracted salt, which I rarely eat, if I go to a restaurant, it's in there, I might rarely add it to something. But at home, generally, I stay clear of the salt, and I'll use one of the other things that I'll show you, right? Once again, this is about good, better, best, right? I'm going to show you guys the different options you guys have when you go into a health food store, and maybe, just maybe, next time instead of buying the salt, you'll get one of these other options that, in my opinion, are actually more healthy than the salt. And of course, the main thing is don't eat too much sodium in any form that is in. If you're just trying to get it from 100% fruits and vegetables, you guys can do that. But I have met friends that have actually tried to get it from fruits and vegetables, and then they actually are sodium deficient, which is not good either. So if you want to get it from fruits and vegetables, make sure you eat on a regular basis some celery, or even something like the Swiss chard stems, which are actually higher in the sodium. So anyways, this is actually the bottom of the bunch. Let's go and go good, better, best in terms of sodium things at the health food store. So maybe a better source of the sodium than just the salt, which is 100% salt, is getting one of these products here. I mean, I know a lot of people still use the Bragg's aminos. I do not recommend this at all. This has naturally occurring MSG, and when I eat it, it has a weird flavor for me, and I get a headache. Not too good. Put that away. Don't buy it. But instead, what I will buy actually and use on occasion are something like this. This is the coconut aminos, and so this is basically just like a fermented coconut sap. Actually, this one kind of has hot pepper in there too, and sea salt, garlic, and onion. So aside from just the sodium you're getting a lot of other foods or nutrient from other foods as well. Plus, it's in a water base, so it's not quite as salty as the salt, you know, but also gives you some nice flavor sensations with some other nutrients. That being said, this is a highly processed product, and I don't want you guys to, you know, focus your diets around something like the coconut aminos, but every once in a while might be nice for a flavor. So in my opinion, one of the best packaged salt alternatives are these guys right here. And what these are just simply seaweeds. So actually this is one of my favorite, the dulse leaves. So the dulse leaves are basically just seaweeds are harvested out of the ocean. They have a naturally salty flavor, but aside from just the sodium, which is a lot lower than, like, say, eating straight salt, you're also getting other nutrients. So this one actually happens to be purple. So you're getting the anthocyanins in there. You're also getting different nutrients in the seaweeds that are not available in plant foods that are grown on land. And also you're getting also a whole host of other trace minerals in much higher quantities than even a sea salt would. I mean, this has like, you know, some of these sea vegetables could have things like iodine in there that can be very important, and magnesium, and all the different ones. And you're saying, John, they got so many different kinds of seaweeds. They got wakame, dulse, sea chicory, Irish moss, kelp flakes. Which one to get? Well, I encourage you guys to rotate and get all the different kinds, because every different kind of seaweed will have different nutrients in it. And I know some of you guys are thinking, John, what about the radiation, man? Fukushima blew up and there's radiation in the oceans. And you know what? I'll say is this: good, better, best. You know, I always try to encourage you guys to source the cleanest foods as you guys possibly can. Many of the seaweed products that I purchase personally, they're testing them now for radiation, because it is something consumers are asking about. You know, and this is ones at the health food store. Now, if you go into like a Asian supermarket where they're just selling the cheap seaweeds, which you get some good deals on, those ones are you don't know what you're going to be getting, right? So if you stick with some good health food brands, or, you know, like Maine Coast Sea Vegetables, you know, they publish you know, test data on their website. You could call them and ask them for that, or just local seaweed companies. You know, you're probably going to get safer stuff than not. So if you guys are looking for something that's like really easy to use in place of salt, that's like way healthier, I encourage you guys to get something like this. Now in the States, they're not exactly like this, but we have things similar. Maine Coast Sea Vegetables basically makes ground up seaweeds in a little powder. So I mean, that's what you're basically getting here. Just basically it's ground up seaweeds in like a little you know, shaker. So you can now shake on sea vegetables on your food to get the nice salty flavor, but also you're going to get a whole host of other nutrients, right? I want you guys to go from processed foods that are isolated sodium to like a whole food that contains all the different nutrients, sodium as well as other things. Now, of course, aside from just you know, eating something like the sea vegetables, which I think are great, if you want to even, you know, get better than that, just eat more celery. You know, slice up or chop up some celery, dice some celery up, and add it to your salads for a nice salty flavor. Or even you could take diced up celery that you then dehydrate into a nice, you know, more concentrated form. So that'd probably be one of the best salt alternatives that's a lot healthier than even the sea salt. So next, let's talk about sugar. Sugar, right? So sugar is something that many people are addicted to, because even as young children, we've all had cookies and candies and sweets, and we have a natural sweet tooth. This is something we're born with, because we are literally detectors of nutrients. And when you have something that's sweet, that signifies to your body that it has some calories in there, and that's going to be something that's going to be able to sustain you. Unfortunately, due to modern processing technologies, we can now basically take something like that's good for us, like sugar cane, and we extract only the white sugar, or only the sugar out of the sugar cane, without, you know, any kind of heavy mineral content or anything. And now you just have the white sugar crystals, which are, in my opinion, one of the worst things you guys can be eating, because it's a highly processed food and isolated food without the whole nutrients from the sugarcane. Actually, I like to make sugarcane juice at my house, where I juice the whole sugarcane. And when you drink sugarcane juice, it's not really actually that sweet. You're getting mostly water with some sugar in there, but you're also getting plenty of minerals, phytochemicals, and antioxidants in with the sugarcane juice as well. And you know, even something, but John, what about agave? Agave, man, it's raw, it's good, right? It's better than sugar, right? Well, you know, I'm gonna say it's maybe like that much better than sugar. It's still a highly processed food product with mostly sugar in there without a lot of extra nutrients. And then you're thinking, well, John, what about like something like the coconut sugar, right? This stuff is as sweet as sugar, and it's from coconuts, right? Well, it's from the coconut sap, and then it's actually boiled down, heated up, highly processed, and while it may contain a little bit more nutrients than the golden sugar or white sugar that you'd buy in the store, this is not something that I want to eat myself personally, and don't encourage you guys to have any kind of extracted sugars yourself. Next, let's get into some better sugars that you might want to eat, but actually some of them I still don't eat. Rarely at all. Some other kinds of sugars that you may want to include that are, in my opinion, more healthy than the ones you just saw. Something like the molasses. Now molasses, this stuff tastes like crap, but at least it's some sugar in there, but also has lots of other minerals in it because it's basically most of what is not in the sugar has been boiled off into the molasses. So if you're looking for something that's high in calcium because you have a calcium deficiency, of course leafy green vegetables are better to get for your calcium in my opinion because there's a lot of other good nutrients in the leafy green vegetables like leafy green vegetable juice and rotating the greens, so you're getting all different kinds. The molasses could be high in calcium for you. That being said, I know a lot of people might like the maple syrup. John, maple syrup is healthier than sugar, right? I mean, I'd have to agree that maple syrup is healthier than sugar because at least it's like less processed. Basically, they get the maple water out of the tree, they boil it down, and then basically you got everything in there. But make sure you're getting true 100% maple syrup because a lot of maple syrups, the cheap ones, actually have corn syrup in there, and that's really crappy too. But nonetheless, I rarely, if ever, eat any kind of maple syrup. Let me go ahead and show you guys a few other better sweeteners than even the maple syrup. So maybe better, in my opinion anyways, than something like the maple syrup is something like the honey, right? And some people might disagree with me and you're like, John, you're not vegan, you eat honey. Well, man, I rarely ever eat honey. There's like one recipe I make that I like to have honey and maybe once a month if that, but I don't even encourage you guys to eat honey, maple syrup, or any other kind of processed sweetener because they all mess with your blood sugar. They all are actually fairly low nutrient foods with lots of sugar without other nutrients in there. But at least the honey, you know, when bees collect the nectar to make the honey, they're also getting some of the other nutrients from the plants, and that's why, you know, the Manuka honey could have antimicrobial properties, you know, so instead of taking some toxic cough drops, I'd have some Manuka honey in my throat that has the antibiotic properties in there because of what the bees collected from the Manuka plant. Or like if you have a wound and you're in the middle of a bush and you don't have anything, you could put some honey on there because it's like antimicrobial. So honey has some uses, but still, in my opinion, it's not a health food and it shouldn't be eaten. And even more important than that to me, with the honey especially, is how are the bees treated that are making the honey? Unfortunate, many honey products that the bees are literally being raped and pillaged so that we can steal their honey so that people can bottle it and sell it. So if you guys do choose to buy honey, I do encourage you guys to get it from a backyard beekeeper that treats their bees right, to get it from your farmer's market, and ask the person that's making the honey, how did you treat the bees? Do you smoke them? Do you use any kind of chemicals in there? I mean, do you steal all the, well, I wouldn't ask the beekeeper, do you steal all their honey? But I would say, when you harvest the honey, do you take it all from the bees? And then what do you feed the bees in the wintertime? Because, you know, most beekeepers will steal all the bees' honey and then give them basically sugar water to keep the bees alive, because people don't realize that the honey is the bees' food, and when you steal all the bees' food, the bees have nothing to eat, and that can be a big problem, especially when you're feeding them, instead of their nutrient-dense honey that they get to eat, feeding them sugar water instead. So yeah, although I do eat some honey on rare occasion, and if you want to call me not vegan, go right ahead. I'll link you down to a video I did where I already talk about not being vegan and some thoughts you should consider about that topic. Anyways, let's get into actually some sweeteners that I actually do eat on a more regular and everyday occasion that you guys should also be eating, in my opinion. So even better than the honey, and this is something that I would probably eat, definitely more so than the honey, would be something like this, although I've never had anything like this or eaten anything like this myself. These are kind of rare to find in the States. Something like the date syrup. So the date syrup, the ingredients are 100% natural dates. This is basically just dates and water blended up into a syrup that now is packaged up. I mean, I would rather just take my own fresh dates, blend it with some water, and then make my own date syrup, of course. It's going to be a lot less expensive and less processed because you don't know how they ended up getting this date syrup in there. Or, you know, something like this, right? They actually have a date spread, and actually they have a prune spread. This is something actually I rarely see in the United States. And basically, once again, this is just, the ingredients are 100% dates and water into a nice spreadable format, you know? So I mean, once again, we want to focus on eating real foods. These are real foods that just have some water and blend it up just a little bit. But even better than that would be the dates themselves. So let me show you actually some really cool dates they have here. So better than kind of a processed date paste or processed date spread would be just buy yourself some fresh dates, right? Here actually they get some dates that we don't get in the States. These are like Persian dates, fresh dates from Persia. And these are actually nice, rich, and dark colored dates. Look at these guys in there. They look really nice. Actually, they have samples here, which I did try earlier. Really cool. But yeah, I want to encourage you guys to eat. Actually, this is real fruit. This is in nature's sugar proportions with, you know, the right amount of vitamins and minerals and other nutrients in there as well. Dates are a superfood in their own right. And aside from just, you know, dried dates, you can get other different kinds of dried fruits as well. So, you know, I would always choose dried fruit powder, like a dried blueberry powder, freeze-dried mango powder, some dried mangoes blended up with some water, you know, use that as a sweetener first before any of the other ones, any of the sweeteners, whether that's honey, agave, the coconut sugar that I've talked about previously. Of course, you know, there's something even better than dried fruits and the dates that have low water content, and let me show you guys what those are next. So the best source of sugar in the entire planet is something like fresh fruit, right? Fresh fruit is where you guys should be getting the most of your sugar from. I mean, a nice juicy sweet mango, oh my god, they're so sweet and rich, and they have the sugar in there, but aside from the sugar, they have the whole package that nature, God, whoever you believe in, want for us to eat. They have the sugar, they have the water content, they have the vitamins, the minerals, the phytochemicals, and the special plant chemicals that the plant has made and put in there for our benefit that are antioxidants to help keep us young. So by all means, eat as much fresh fruit you want when you get a sugar craving. They're absolutely the best, in my opinion. And hopefully most health food stores will have a nice produce department where you get some amazing fruits. And yeah, try to get it organic whenever you can, if you guys can afford it. But if you can't, hey, even conventional fruit, in my opinion, is better than organic sugar. So next, I want to talk about healthy fats. And I know a lot of you guys still, and you'll probably thumbs me down for saying this in the video, olive oil or any other kind of oil, whether that's coconut oil, hazelnut oil, mustard seed oil, avocado oil, walnut oil, grapeseed oil. In my opinion, oils are not a health food. There is one exception actually that I do believe is truly a health food, and that's actually DHA oil extracted from algae that I do eat, but not in any large quantities, actually as a therapeutic or as a supplement to my diet to ensure that I'm going to have good brain health in the future. And that's a whole nother topic that I'm not going to get into in this episode. But aside from that, I do not have or eat any oils at my home. If I go to a restaurant and it happens to be in there, I'll eat it, but I always try to ask them what's in things, and I try to avoid getting any kind of oil-based products, because once again, you know, if you guys agree that the sugar is a highly processed and refined product and you don't eat it because of that reason, but you're still eating oil, it doesn't really make sense, because the oil is basically just the extracted fat from the olive with very little other nutrients than 100% fat that comes in at 120 calories per tablespoon. So you can literally pack on the calories by eating oil. So instead of eating oil, I want you guys to eat something even better than just the oil. And let's go ahead and show you guys what that is. So instead of eating the olive oil, what I encourage you guys to do is get the olives. Now the olives, you know, may be a source of actually high sodium content, which is not good. So what I like to do is I like to get a good quality olives in a jar, and hopefully with the least amount of ingredients. This one's actually pretty good. It has organic black olives, water, and sea salt. So that's actually quite good ingredients. But what I would do is, because this water is soaked, these olives are soaked in the water and the sea salt, when I get home, I pour off all the brine that these guys are in, which is actually really salty. I don't even pour them on my plants because it's actually too high of sodium. I'll pour this off, and then I'll actually fill this up with some distilled water or some reverse osmosis water that I've removed all the minerals from. And now I just I put it in water, and then I put these in my fridge and just let them hang out in there for a week or two in the fridge so that the sodium level leaches out into the pure water that I put in. Then I'll just eat the olives that have a lot lower sodium content in there. And thereby I'm not only getting the oil in the olives, I'm also getting the other phytosterols, the vitamins and minerals in the olives as well as that nice purple rich pigment, which, you know, the anthocyanin is one of the best you know, things, in my opinion, in the olives themselves. Now, aside from that, you know, instead of eating other kinds of oils, you're going to want to get the real food. So, you know, instead of eating peanut oil, eat some peanuts, right? Instead of eating almond oil, eat some whole almonds, right? A lot better, because not only, I mean, in almonds, there's the almond oil, of course, but it tends to be a lot lower in quantity than oil, which is 100% fat, right? There's other nutrients in the almonds. So when I make a dressing, instead of like an oil and vinegar dressing, you could take some vinegar, put it in your blender with some almonds, for example, and maybe a little bit of orange juice, and blend that up into a nice, rich, you know, creamy dressing that now doesn't have as much fat, also has a nice, more creamy texture. I really hate that kind of oily texture, just coats everything. It's also really high in calories. So yeah. Oh yeah, of course, you know, don't forget about the Brazil nuts, really important, or even something like the flax seeds. I don't know if they're here in this area of the store. They got sunflower seeds, walnuts, pine nuts, cashews. I mean, I want to encourage you guys, like, eat all the different kinds of nuts, and don't ever just like, John, I only ever eat almonds, because that's the ones I get. So one day use almonds, one day use Brazil nuts, the next day use cashews, the next day use pistachios, the next day use pine nuts, the next day use macadamia nuts, the next day use pecans, because every different nut or food on the planet has a whole different balance of nutrients, and I don't know which ones you guys need, but I like to get a balance so that my body has everything it needs to survive and thrive in this modern world. So instead of oils, if you guys are on oils, a nice transition food to the next level would be something like these guys, which are nut butters. So in many cases, sometimes that you see nut butters and then you'll get them home and then they'll actually have oil, actually like this one, floated to the top. You're actually going to want to stir that in, right? And this is actually a little bit more liquidy consistency, you know, but it also is more of a whole food, because literally they just take the nut or seed, they grind it up into a butter, and then now you guys could eat it. So you could have, you know, different kind of cashew nut butter, almond butter, peanut butter. They have different, you know, coconut butters, and that's definitely a step in the right direction. Or even one of my favorites is the right here, the black tahini, which is really black, rich in, you know, antioxidants, something you're not going to get in sesame seed oil. Another thing you guys may be buying, depending on where you are in your journey, is something like this: spaghetti. And this is organic spaghetti. And like, John, what's wrong with organic spaghetti? Well, you know, this is a wheat-based product, and I'm not a big fan of eating like wheat-based products or eating high amounts of grains. Matter of fact, actually, I rarely eat any grains. It's not that I avoid all grains, but I rarely eat them, because modern day grains, in my opinion, you know, are not really what they used to be. And in my opinion, we're not grain digesters. We're not made like a chicken to digest grains, even if we have modern machinery that allows us to process it into something as delicious as spaghetti. And I used to eat lots of spaghetti and ramen noodles when I was a kid, or in college, because they were really inexpensive. But, you know, a step in a better direction than something like the spaghetti would be something like this, right? And I don't eat this, don't worry. But this is, if you are eating spaghetti, get something like this. This is actually organic adzuki bean spaghetti. So instead of using, you know, wheat to make the spaghetti, this is 100% beans. This actually has a mixture of adzuki beans and the soybeans, which are much more nutrient dense than just the spaghetti. But once again, these are actually highly processed. I would actually rather use this, guys, cook up some adzuki beans and soybeans to eat instead of having the spaghetti. But let me show you guys actually the better alternative to spaghetti that I do. So while I don't eat traditional spaghetti like you guys know and love, that you actually gotta boil water, cook, and it can take a while, I actually have a machine like this one right here, which is actually quite popular in the States and actually around the world now. It's actually known as a spiralizer, and this is actually a really good one by Paderno, 4-blade spiralizer. And look at this. This allows you to make your own little spaghetti-like shapes out of fresh vegetables. Vegetables are way healthier than the spaghetti, in my opinion, and literally you could turn, you know, different kinds of vegetables, carrots and beets and zucchini, even radishes, turnips, into spaghetti-like strands that then you could make tomato sauce, you know, whether you want to blend it up or heat it up on your stove and put it over it. So this is a lot easier, because literally just you know, using the spiralizer to create the spaghetti-like strands, so it's a lot easier. You don't have to cook water, you don't have to boil water, you have to wait for that spaghetti to be the right texture. These guys are actually a really nice texture, and it's basically ready to go and ready to eat. from just a zucchini. So that's what I love to do instead, and hopefully you guys will do that too. So I think we're coming to the end of this episode, but this last part is really important for me as well as my girlfriend, and hopefully for you guys too. You know, unfortunately most places in the United States have something like plastic bags that you're going to go ahead and take and get a plastic bag and put your produce into. But literally plastic, while it can be detrimental to your health, it's also destroying the oceans and is detrimental to the health of the planet. So I'm happy that the Hungry Elephant here, you know, they don't actually give you any kind of plastic bags to put your produce in. Actually, I had to get this one myself. They give you right here, these guys. And actually these are bio bags that they have on rolls that you can actually just pull off and put your produce into. And these bio bags are 100% compostable and actually not from plastic. So this will just go right in your compost bin and break down because it is from a plant source material. So this is amazing. So you guys could, you know, buy your own bio bags. My girlfriend buys the ones for the, you know, the dog poop that she picks up instead of using the plastic because that'll degrade easier. But even better than the bio bags, there's something that they have here and you guys could also get pretty much wherever you live. And let me show you guys that next. So instead of even using those bio bags that are one time, or maybe you could get a 2-time or 3-time use out of it, is getting something like this, which are infinitely reusable, and these are just basically reusable produce bags. Actually, I got mine on Amazon. You could come to the Hungry Elephant here and get them here. But basically, these are just bags that are also made from poly or plastic, but these are infinitely reusable. They also have, you know, many of the good ones actually have a tear weight on them, so they could tear them out whenever you buy things. And this way, you don't have to keep reusing the plastic bags or recycling the plastic bags, in which case I really ever wonder if they get recycled, or unfortunately many people throw out the one-time use plastic bags and it's just contributing to the landfill waste and also probably ends up in the ocean somehow. So yeah, I really want to encourage you guys to get some kind of reusable produce bags, and even if you want to get, you know, just the reusable bags like these string bags that they sell here. And actually I travel with one of these string bags, so when I travel wherever in the world I am, one of these are always in my backpack, so I could have a reusable bag, a tote to carry things. That they're actually quite strong and work really good. And you know, I always try to encourage you guys to use reusable bags whenever you guys can instead of the one-time use bags. You know, if I do get bags from the store, generally they are paper, and when I bring them home I might reuse them a few times, and then they basically get shredded up and put into my compost to act as a carbon source so that I could compost all the food waste that I generate. I think that's all I got for you guys today, coming at you from the Hungry Elephant. You know, teaching you guys about some of the good, better, best choices you guys can make. You know, no matter where you are on your journey, hopefully you're always going to strive to go for the best things that I've shared with you in this episode. Your guys' health will be better because of it, and getting away from more of the processed things. And that's what I'm basically about. We want to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, herbs, and things in their natural, minimally processed state as possible. You know, even when I juice, that's a sort of processing, but in my opinion, that's one of the minimal processes. And you know, I'm doing the processing myself instead of letting somebody at a factory that I don't know what are the kind of additives or preservatives or whatever they're adding to the foods that you guys end up buying. So hopefully you could also trust the companies that you guys buy and support from. But once again, I always encourage you guys, if you guys are going to process your food, to do it yourself. One of these days I get to look forward to juicing my own sugar cane and then freeze drying it in my freeze dryer to have my own freeze dried 100% you know, whole food based sugar cane crystals or whatever comes out of it. It's going to have everything except the water, including all the minerals, something that all these processed sugar products don't have. And even then, I'm not going to overeat that stuff because it's a highly concentrated product. It might be something I take just for fun when I go on vacation, because otherwise, when I could get it, I'll just drink the fresh sugarcane juice because it's a lot better. So once again, remember, good, better, best. Check the link down below to a video I did on my continuum diet where you guys could learn about some of these continuums more in depth and how to make better choices in your life so that you guys could be healthier. If you guys enjoyed this episode coming from the Hungry Elephant, want me to do more videos like this at health food stores to help you guys out, to share with you guys some of the knowledge I've learned over the many years, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with somebody else you might think it can help out so that they can start improving their diet one step at a time. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 500 episodes at this time, teach you guys all aspects on how you guys could eat more fresh fruits and vegetables and eat more of a whole food plant-based diet so that you guys can get healthier. And don't forget, click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on any of my new and upcoming episodes. I've come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.